Hi guys, so this is part one of me talking about my journey as a Canadian IMG who is trying to get into the CaRMS pathway for residency. Everyone has a separate story of their struggles and what they had to do to reach this position, and I don't think it's necessary for me to share that part of my story, but I will definitely be giving some good advice and tips on what to do and what not to do. So number one is, I know the feeling is when you come from a different country or when you're coming back to Canada, whatever the scenario may be, you're lost. Okay, like you have no direction, you don't know what to do, you don't know where to study from, you just know that there are these exams you have to give in order to be able to match into residency. So first of all, my advice, you only probably can get help from someone who's been through the process and done it themselves, and they can probably guide you. But everyone still has a journey of their own, and some things work for somebody and it doesn't work for the other person. So for me, I took when I came back to Canada after finishing medical school, I was still unsure of what I wanted to do, because I've heard of horror stories of how hard it is to get into residency in Canada, and I was like, that made me really double-minded. I'm like, do I want to go through all this effort and not see any results at the end? Well, here I am today, and alhamdulillah that I persisted and I worked hard and I had a vision in the end, and that's a very important part. Having a vision and being persistent and blocking all the background noise and doubts people have, and how they discourage you and be like, this is impossible, why is it taking so long? Everyone has their own path, so you just need to focus on what you want, what your goals are, and everything else will become clear and everything else will fall into place, like it did for me and other IMGs who have matched. So first of all, the myth that it's hard for IMGs to match in Canada, it's a myth, okay? And people are matching, people have matched, people will be matching in the future as well. So get that thought out of your mind first, so then you can focus on your goal and what steps to take. So the second thing, I believe the biggest thing is people are like, where do we study for these exams from? So the first thing for QE1, I would suggest giving the MCC QE1, which is a theory based, and it's all MCQs now. So for that, I would suggest that stick to one resource. So if you want to know more about which resource, you can comment below and I can do a private message. But I took several courses, and some of them they didn't suit me because I need kind of more structure and I need accountability. So I needed something that was daily, like a daily class, and then there was testing at the end of the week. So I took a course similar to that, and it really helped because I could see what level I was at and how much more effort I needed to put in to be able to get a good grade, and then to get a higher grade, like a above average grade as well, because the course is really good, because they kind of at the end they tell you, okay, now you can book your exam, now you're ready, rather than you putting a date in your head that I'm going to give the exam in 6 months and I should be ready by then, because we don't work like that. And even under stress, I feel like if you have a deadline and you're like, I have to give it by this time, I don't think, I'll just be pressured that I need to know everything, but if I'm not ready, I'll still be giving it. And that's a mistake many IMGs do. We have a date in our head, okay, the deadline, I need to give it by this date because I haven't been practicing, and I'm out of practice for so long, and this is my last year I can apply. That's also a myth. So just focus on doing well in this exam, preparing yourself. Also give yourself grace, obviously put in the hard work and smart work and energy and time, and make sure you're really focused, but also don't put a time limit and be like, I need to finish it at this time and I have to give my exam at this time. So I was doing that, and that was not the way to go. So I learned that you can only give the exam when you're fully ready, and this course really helped because they really assess you weekly, and then they repeat the courses multiple times in that time frame that you're taking the course. So they finish the course 2-3 times. I finished the course with them 5-6 times, and it's all according to the MCC MCC objectives. So it really kind of guides you on what you're supposed to study, how you're supposed to study. There are other resources and other books like USMLE books and UWorld people have been using, and they pass from it. But frankly, to me, I don't think the US resources really help, because the US resources didn't really help because they don't really give you a clear picture of how the Canadian exam is. Like, they can help you with like internal medicine knowledge, because US exams are very internal medicine based, but what the MCC exams are usually more like family medicine based, primary care based, so they don't really go too deep. But is their way of questioning and asking questions that is different. Their vignette length is different, it's not too detailed. It's very different from the US exams. It might help you a little bit just knowledge wise, but in the end of the day, you still have to go and do the Canadian Q banks just to help you with being very good with your concepts and the type of questions they have, especially with time management. So for resources, stick to one resource. So I was with a course and they give you some sort of resources which I used, and I didn't go to any other resource, to be honest. Like, people are like, how many resources did you use, like where did you study from? And if you tell them one, they're like, no, I don't believe you, like, there must have been more, because how can you just get everything from one book? But for me, it's really important that it's one resource, that I can get everything from one place, because otherwise I'm really confused and I'm just like opening one book, closing one book, writing notes here, writing notes there. So from the class, whatever I learned, I would put it in the same notes, read the same thing. The key to doing good in this MCC QE1 exam is repetition, repetition, repetition. And if you're smart, you get it once, that's good. Take the course once, see if you're doing above average, and you're good to book your exam. And the doctors also kind of guide you when you should book your exam. I think I'm repeating that, but it's just good to emphasize that point. So that's MCC, the resources, okay? And as well as, don't put a deadline for yourself and only see when you're ready to give the exam. Yeah. So the resources, when to book the exam, NAC OSCE. So the NAC OSCE is the OSCE part of the MCC exams, and I believe you should probably give that after the QE1, because the QE1 is more lengthy and detailed. It takes more time and energy. So if you do the harder part first, then the NAC is like a reward. I did the NAC first, and then I did the QE1, so it wasn't really a reward, it was the opposite of a reward. So I believe you should probably do the QE1 first, prepare for that, and really, if you do really well in both exams, you're ticking one part off your CaRMS application, that is getting a high score. So besides that, so the NAC OSCE exam, I took one course, but the thing is, you don't really need a course, you just need study partners in which you can keep practicing with, because it's mostly your communication skills. They're looking at some of the knowledge you should have already had from the MCC QE1 exam, how you deliver that, and they have post-encounter questions, which is a bit more detail about the case. Like if it's a hypertension case or a stroke case, they might have follow-up questions, but those are just basic stuff you can kind of revise as you're practicing with your study partners. And the key is having many study partners and making sure you're putting good number of hours in the day with your study partners. So that's very important. So these are the two exams, and I'll just summarize, and I will talk in another video, just because so you can just focus on this, and this can be the part one. So that's it. And basically, it's very important because this is a very hard and tedious journey. You need to make sure you have people who are supporting you around you, and that you have good mental health, just because it can be very draining, especially if you're working and you're studying at the same time, and you have your own family life. You don't want to just be studying, right? And I feel like many people who are coming back to Canada or IMGs are probably like married at some point, or they have kids, and it's really hard to divide your time with studying and giving your family time, and having time for yourself. But it's very important for your mental health that you take some time out of the day for yourself, to spend time with your family, or go to the gym or do something for yourself, just so you can kind of release that tension and also feel good about yourself. Just because who wants to be sitting in a room all day and just studying, right? So you need to have that time for yourself. So what I did was, initially when I started studying for the exam, I day and night, it was like studying. Like, I'm not a type of person to study till 2-3 a.m. I would study mostly in the day and early mornings, but I made it a point to kind of give myself at least 1 hour, 2 hours in a day for myself, in which I was going to the gym or doing something I enjoy, you know, talking to my mom or something like that. So make sure you don't burn out right at the beginning, because it's a long process. It's a super long process, and it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of reminding yourself why you're doing this, what your bigger goal is, and that it's going to be worth it at the end. You just need a lot of patience, and I can't emphasize this enough, because not just you, but the people around you are also going to need to be patient with you, just because, you know, you're dedicating. Like, it's not the same when you leave medical school. When you're in medical school, your whole aim is to do well in the exams, just to study, right? But once you're married or once you finish medical school, there are other expectations. You don't just want to be studying, right? So you just need to be patient with yourself, and you need to, like, maybe have a good conversation with your family, be like, this is a very important time for me, I need to dedicate this, and I'm going to be needing a lot of support. So that's conversations that need to be had while you're in the process, before you start this process, okay? And so this is it's very important to have support. Besides that, also make sure, like, you can give NAC or MCC QE1 before or after. Like, you can give QE1 before NAC or NAC before MCC QE1, but I advise doing the harder one first, just so you can, you know, do really well, focus on that. And once you do that, the NAC is super easy, and you just need a little bit of practice with your communication skills and maybe just your fluency. Besides that, you'll be good. So just a lot of practice. So I think these so basically, resources, when to book the exam, courses if necessary, and don't go into too many courses. You know, like, if anyone wants details, I can recommend it. I can probably link them below. Maybe they won't have a problem with that, but you need to just stick to one resource. Also, you need to trust the process, and you need to be putting in the hard work. Like, the teachers and the courses you're taking, they're not going to make you pass. You have to make yourself pass. You have to put in the hard work, and you have to keep adding the hard work. Like, if you're not, let's say you're not doing well in the test, you do some more studying, but you're still not seeing the effort, that means you still need more hard work, and you need more, you're missing something. There's something that's missing. Maybe you're not doing enough questions, you're not reading enough of the book. So just consistency, and patience with yourself. And you need to add more time. If you're working and you feel like you're not getting good grades, maybe reduce the number of work hours. I know it's hard because these exams are expensive, but I think in the beginning, when you're not doing so well and when you just started studying, you need to dedicate that time and effort. So this video is getting really long, and I know my attention span is not that long, so I think that's good enough for now. So just know that it's not impossible, okay? Stick to one resource. Don't go all over the place. Don't be using US books from here, this book from there, this material from here. Like, ethics is different. There's an ethics website where you go from CMPA, and you can learn a lot from there. Besides that, not too many resources. Don't put your exam in a hurry because you're like, I need to do it by this year, I need to match this year. You'll match when you match, but you won't match if you don't do well in the exam. I mean, that's not true, but you need to be doing well in the exam. You need to be doing well in the exam so you can match, okay? So don't put like a deadline on your head, and don't let people put a deadline on your head. Go up, like, you know, just give it now, give it in 3 months. You're a doctor, you know all of this from before. You don't. You know the stuff, but the way the Canadians do it, or the way the Canadian guidelines are much different from like any other guidelines. So you need to make sure you're studying the Canadian way, okay, if that makes any sense. So I'm gonna stop here, and I hope this is helpful. If anyone has questions, please put it in the comments below, or message me if you know me personally, and I can help you out more. Take care. Bye.